Should the government be allowed to display religious items, i.e. the Ten Commandments, on public property?
Okay. I'll give the cop-out answer the Supreme Court gave, which is, it depends. So, but more specifically, the line that the court drew, and we can differ on the margins, is that if there's a display of law throughout the ages, equivalent to a museum display, and this was in one of the cases that went before the court about a little over 10 years ago. So you're displaying Hammurabi's Code, the Ten Commandments, and other things like that, then yes, you can display that. What you can't do is what sometimes happens, which is a judge putting up the Ten Commandments in his courtroom, or a courthouse putting up the Ten Commandments in front. Because then it's not even a close case about what is the reasonable perception of a third party. Let's be real, the obvious point being conveyed, quite intentionally, quite clearly, with no misunderstanding, is that this is a courthouse, this is a jurisdiction governed by the Ten Commandments. That could not be more blatantly a violation of the law in the First Amendment against any law respecting establishment of religion. You cannot endorse a religious viewpoint. If I have religion with 10 different commandments, if I disagree with some of your commandments, then I'm entitled to an impartial government. I'm entitled to a government that is not taking sides. And just as the previous questioner said, is it wrong for Muslims to get a prayer room but not Christians? You're darn right it is. Is it wrong for the government to side with Christianity over some other commandments? You're darn right it is. It's the same principle. Rights for thee, rights for me are the same thing. You cannot favor only rights for yourself to equal treatment, but then say, but I would really like courthouses to adopt my religious doctrines. It just doesn't work. Logically, you can't have it. And that's why very devout and very conservative judges consistently say no to that.
And we have 1 minute and 10 seconds. Would you like to clarify?
Oh, I'll elaborate, which is, I thought my time was up, sorry. I'll go further, which is that there are cases about nativity scenes as well. And again, the principle is it a neutral use of government property? So there are cases the ACLU has litigated saying that you have a right to put up a nativity scene if others have a right to use that public property, whether a school garden or area in which people can put up displays or political speech, or if you're on a public college campus where you can put up your Clinton or Trump or Gary Johnson sign, then you can put up something religious as well. I strongly support that. And are there school administrators who get that wrong sometimes and think religion must stay out? Yes, but that's wrong. So I think that you get to put up nativity scenes if that's a display in a setting in which other displays are allowed. What you can't do is say, I want my religion's version of some holiday to be credited over others, and I would really like the Ten Commandments to be adopted as the law of the land. There have been cases enjoining those, but there have also been cases enjoining other religious adoptions as well. It's neutrality, folks.
Would you like the question repeated?
Please, yes.
Okay. Should the government be allowed to display religious items, i.e. the Ten Commandments, on public property?
I believe the Ten Commandments should be allowed to be displayed on public property, and I want to unpack a little bit farther something I said a few moments ago, that religion and morality are two different things. The Ten Commandments are an expression of morality. Now, the Founding Fathers and the framers had a deep interest in morality. Jefferson wrote about self-evident truth. Sometimes you'll hear the phrase, the laws of nature and nature's God. Now, when we recognize some moral boundaries like thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not lie, thou shalt not steal, the recognition of these universally almost held ethical boundaries in no way constitutes the establishment of religion. I mean, look at the roofline of the U.S. Supreme Court building. In the frieze that is the roofline of the Supreme Court is Moses holding the Decalogue. And the care and the protection of the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment says the government is not going to have a state church. It's been construed in our lifetimes to mean that we can't recognize what the founders would have called self-evident truth. Now, this has trickled down from 1973 to the, I would say, manufactured right of a woman to abort a baby. More recently, in our own lifetime, the accommodation laws that basically have said gender is fluid and I can identify as a gender other than my birth gender. We, in our quest to really not allow the display of the Ten Commandments or the teaching of natural law or ethical moral boundaries, objective truth, call it what you will, we really, and we're watching it every day play out on the news, we've created a society that is devolving really into a state of anarchy. Really, we are falling farther and farther into a state of societal chaos because we really don't have any moral foundation anymore. Now, let me say this. In his 1963 Pulitzer Prize-winning book, Why We Can't Wait, Dr. King predicated the validity of the civil rights movement on, quote, America's Judeo-Christian heritage. He's talking about our judiciary, even our Constitution, is based on the Ten Commandments, self-evident truth. In fact, the whole validity of the civil rights movement, that all people are human beings and there's no set of humans within our culture that can't have the same rights everybody else has, was based on for 2,000 years of Western civilization, this recognition of natural law expressed, codified in the Ten Commandments. And so we're not violating the First Amendment when we display the Ten Commandments, yes, even on public property. In fact, we're acting in accord with our history, with our Constitution, with our judiciary, and some of the greatest leaders that we've ever had.